Okay, so this is going to be the second part. And what I was saying is he's really going to take advantage of the lack of cannons in that area over there. But we see right now that since those units over there, the High Templars and the Archons and such, were trying to defend the natural, Savior really takes advantage of this by multitasking and dropping at the main, where he's been able to do a lot of damage, taking out most of the probes. And you see right now he's focusing fire on that Nexus and dodging these storms very well.
Well, that drop at Stork's natural, I don't think was really more of a I think it was more of a diversion of anything, because if you could see, he only dropped 8 Hydralisks and picked 5 of them up actually after 3 of them or 4 of them died. So I think that was more of a diversion drop to really make Stork panic and go running to his natural, since it's so undefended, like you said. But then at the same time, 6 Overlords full of Hydralisks and a few Zerglings actually took out Stork's main Nexus there. So that really put a huge strain on Stork, and I think that move right there definitely led to Stork losing the game, losing his Nexus like that, because that meant no gas for him and no tech units for quite a while. And that's really hard to deal with Hydralisks and Lurkers without any tech units.
Yeah, I definitely thought that was a really good choice to go for that Nexus, since it's the only source of gas. And we see now that Savior had secretly morphed a couple of Lurkers inside Stork's base, which is really well done and played. And he spreads them out very well so they can't be stormed altogether. Now, something that I also want to note is that Savior reloaded his Hydralisks into the Overlords before they were all killed by Zealots. So that's very good, because he's going to try and save as many units as he can, and he's continuing to send more and more drops now, so it's definitely putting a lot of pressure on Stork right now.
He's definitely putting a lot of pressure on Stork with these drops, and actually doing a substantial amount of damage to his army, because if you see, Stork never really builds up a substantial army, and the multitasking and pressure he's putting on Stork is huge. As you saw there, he has a Lurker and an Overlord that was sitting there in range of his Nexus. You could easily see that, and even now he's not moving his probes out of the way until just then. It's a nice move there, but even then, that just shows the extent of Stork having to run around and deal with all this harassment and pressure put on by Savior. It's very nicely played by Savior here, all this harassment and pressure.
Yeah, definitely, because even programmers can't even manage too much of this harassment from all these different directions, and still these Hydralisks are dodging those storms very efficiently. And we see that Savior's taking advantage of doing all this pressure on Stork. You see that Stork hasn't applied any pressure on Savior for pretty much the entire game except for the beginning. And he's taking this advantage by making another expansion at the main, where he's going to be able to get a free 2 gases.
Yeah, it's also a very big part of the game that just kind of secures Savior's late game, even though Savior probably knew it was over by this point, and Stork's really just hanging on right now.
Yeah, a little question I have is about the possible map imbalances of this map, since it's a very macro-ish map, and even the creator said it was trying to encourage one-base builds because of the double gas and the 10 mineral patches. What I'm a little bit worried about is the 2 gases and 10 mineral patches that you can easily get with just making one expansion. I mean, because this is, you don't even, it's 10 mineral patches, that's a lot of minerals, and 2 gases just by making one hatchery. So is this possibly a little bit of an imbalance? Because if a Protoss player could possibly only play off one base, how could a Zerg player be playing off a couple of these bases that have 2 gases and 10 mineral patches each?
Well, in a lot of these later maps, you can see that a lot of not all of the bases, but not a lot of them, but for example, Longinus 2 actually has that 4th expansion there that a lot of Zergs take before they're mineral only to get the double gas. It actually makes a very big difference in how the game is played. And even on symmetrical maps like Luna, for example, most Zergs, when they expand, they usually take the natural and the main of the base they're expanding to. So either way, I think you really get two gases, and I don't think that really makes a big difference on the balance of this matchup.
Yeah, and this is a really good play by Savior, where he takes out the natural Nexus once again. So Stork is really behind at this point, with very low probe count and also a lack of a natural. So would you say that the game is already over by this point?
I think as soon as Savior took out the main Nexus of Stork, I think the game was really over at that point and decided, but it's just really, it just wasn't sealed, the deal wasn't sealed too quickly, as you could say, but he's taken out two Nexus so far, the main and the natural, and the natural never really gets rebuilt, so it really just shows how much Stork's really dying for money right now and how poor his economy is. I mean, if you look, he's only got 2 Orcons morphing and a Zealot, so that's a pretty poor army there, supported by a poor economy. So there's not a whole lot Stork can do at this point.
Yeah, and these Hydralisks focusing fire on those Archons kill him very quickly. And you see a lot of well play by Savior, where he loads back those units into the Overlords before they're killed. So he definitely doesn't waste units like most Zergs would, because usually you would assume that a Zerg player could waste their units, because most of their units are very cheap and you can mass them very easily. But you see that Savior definitely does not waste a single unit, and he uses them each very efficiently. And this is something that's very good by Savior, and something that I really like about his style.
One thing I'm surprised I didn't see from Stork this game, if you notice on the mini-map, you don't see in the top left, or really on the left side of the map, except for Savior's expansion over there, you don't really see any uncovered parts of the map, because Savior hasn't scouted over there until, well, you see a Zergling headed over there now, but I'm surprised we didn't try and see a secret expansion trying to be snuck in by Stork here. I mean, I think that really could have turned the game around for him if he could have snuck in an expansion. Just kind of cannon horde his expansion there. Because until now, Savior just now scouted there at that expansion. By now, he could easily have another expansion up and running there. So I'm just surprised that we didn't see any of that coming from Stork, seeing as he's pretty innovative as far as strategy goes.
Definitely, since it's already been about 17 minutes in the game and he still hasn't grabbed another expansion. I'm a little bit surprised that Savior didn't grab more expansions, because he literally has, everything is free for him. There's nothing that's stopping him from making expansions all over the map and getting complete map dominance. This is something that he usually does, that I usually see him do. But I guess he was focusing a lot on getting these Overlords and drops, and it's very well played by Savior. He went around going to those bases with those Zerglings, as you saw earlier, to make sure that there's no extra bases by Stork. And that's also something a little bit surprising, because, as you said, that's something that Stork should have done, since he's really off economically right now, since all of his probes and his natural and everything is being destroyed. And you still see that this is being microed very well by Savior. He dodges a lot of those storms with those Hydralisks.
Okay, and here we see a last-ditch effort by Stork, which Savior has only one sunken for defense, although he has a quite sizable army and his main waiting there for drops. But he has very little defense because he really hasn't had any pressure on him since the first 5 minutes of the game. So he's really been pressure-free. And to kind of comment on that, what you said about the expansions, I think Savior's just so focused on his drops right now, and it's macro and micro, that he really doesn't want to spend any extra time expanding and worrying about his expansions. I think 3 bases is plenty for him to worry about, and there's the GG right there from Stork.
Yep, and it's GG. And so that was a very nice game by both players, but we just saw that Stork wasn't able to follow up on his Corsair harassment in the very beginning, because he just didn't have a stable enough economy like what Bisu would have.
Yeah, Bisu
I'm going to stop the recording here, okay?
Alright, go ahead.